Okay, so I guess I haven't really talked about what happened or why or what's going on or the future, blah blah blah. You have to excuse my face. It looks so much better than it did. But it is from the tape on the life support, the adhesive. My whole, it wasn't so bad on the right, but the whole left side was just scaly and chapped and bleeding. It's just a huge wound, but right now it's not as bad as it was. I heal slow anyway, and I'm on blood thinners, so it makes it bleed all the time. Okay, so what happened? You know, a lot of it's a blur for me. I've mentioned it. I know a lot of people probably don't know it. They don't realize it. They don't really talk about it. But, like, a lot of people knew that I had rheumatoid arthritis, rheumatoid disease. I've had that for a long, long time. But I've also, over the last 10 years, started having different symptoms, different problems, more severe ones, more alarming ones. And, military doctors, military insurance. It's a game, right? May the odds be ever in your favor that you end up with a doctor that either cares or understands. I did eventually end up with a doctor that cared about a year ago. Long story short, she didn't give up. I ended up with a few other doctors that rule things out. I ended up with a really great neurologist who promises to find out what's wrong. And I told him to his face I didn't believe he could. Or that he would. But he did. And I was diagnosed with a rare neuromuscular disease that's an autoimmune disease called myasthenia gravis. It is in the pile of neuromuscular diseases as like ALS and muscular dystrophy and multiple sclerosis and Parkinson's and all this other shit. So anyways, the best way I can explain what that is or what it does is the more I use a voluntary muscle, the more I use a muscle, anything from my fingers to my arms to my neck, my voice, talking, my eyes, to my breathing, my diaphragm, my lungs, my heart. They weaken, and your diaphragm can become paralyzed. And without a diaphragm, you can't breathe. Jeremy explained it once, as the best way I heard him explain it was, it's my muscles are a piece of tin. Not tinfoil, but tin. And each time you use a muscle, whether it's your diaphragm or your fingers or your toes or your legs or your arms or your neck or your eyes, whatever, your lungs. Oh, sorry. It bends. What happens if you bend the tinfoil enough? It breaks. So, like, I can't even exercise. Sometimes this eye is so droopy that I can't hardly see out of it. Today it doesn't seem as bad. They're not the same, but it's not as bad, right? So, some days my voice is gone, some days I can't talk right, some days my breathing's difficult. And last month a lot went on. You know, of course there was Thanksgiving right before, stressful time. But then On December 5th, Jeremy's dad died, and I didn't want him to go to Iowa alone, so I went with him. I'm not supposed to travel. I'm on immunosuppressants, which means I don't have an immune system. It's another reason I'm not supposed to travel. But I didn't want him to go alone, so I went. So I was exposed to all that. Came home on December 11th because I had an important appointment on the 12th, and then I also had a important to me and the grandkids and grandpa and everybody, Polar Express train ride on the 14th that is like an annual thing I started. So went on that. I was surrounded by all these people then too. I didn't have my mask on as much as I should have because I was interacting with the grandbabies. And then when I have trouble breathing, I yawn a lot. I apologize. So then I woke up on like December 19th with a dry cough. And then like the following Monday, Jeremy called my neurologist to see what we should do, and he said to go to the hospital. And I thought that was just the most absurd thing I'd ever heard. It was a dry cough. It wasn't a big deal. I wasn't like choking on anything. I felt fine. I felt normal. I didn't have a sore throat. I didn't have a fever. So I didn't want to ruin the holidays. I promised that if I got worse, I'd go. Fast forward, Christmas Eve. Now, we do Christmas differently around here. We open up presents evening at Christmas Eve. I do my mom's spaghetti dinner. And then on Christmas Day, we open up everything from Santa, and we have a family Christmas dinner. I wasn't able to make the spaghetti on my own this year. It was the first time ever. I've never had anybody help me make my mom's spaghetti. It's a sacred family recipe. But Michael had to help me, and I just sort of sat down in the kitchen and told him what to do. I should have pieced together at that moment that things were going really wrong. Because with myasthenia gravis, weakness is the most important part that you have to pay attention to. And so I just thought I needed rest. Christmas Day, I stayed in bed. I didn't open anything. I ate it. I tried to eat in bed. I didn't hold it down later. I wasn't holding down meds. The very holidays that I was worried about ruining, I have no memory of. I'm still finding out what gifts I got for Christmas every day. I feel bad about that, but I don't remember any of it. Fast forward, everybody's in bed, it's around midnight, and I start to realize that I think I might be in trouble. My lungs hurt when I breathed, and I felt like I was underwater, like my lungs were swimming. But I didn't want to wake anybody up. I wanted them to sleep. They'd worked so hard, they'd done so much, so I was like, I'll wait. And then the power went out anyway, so I was like, I'll just try to sleep, which I didn't, because it was so bad. I was throwing up, and I was having such a hard time breathing. I started to become scared to fall asleep that I wouldn't wake up. So at about 7 o'clock in the morning, I had Jeremy take me to the emergency room here in Centralia. I went in to triage, and I think that's when I realized that things were a little serious because the tone changed. Normally they're slow. They check your blood pressure, your temperature, your, everything. They triage you. And then they send you back out to the waiting room, and you sit there for like 12 fucking hours. And that's not what happened. The lady started moving very quickly. She started calling in nurses and doctors and codes and saying I was something cardiac, and I knew that meant something with my heart. And I couldn't breathe. The only thing I remember about being there is at one point they were talking about giving me a shot to stop my heart. It started with an I. Jeremy kept telling them that I had a condition. He kept telling them about my myasthenia gravis and that he thought that it was involved and that he thought they needed to call Dr. Farr, because I had told them they needed to talk to Dr. Farr, which is my neurologist up at Madigan, which is like 45 minutes north of here in Tacoma. So thankfully they didn't do that, because the guy's like, it's going to really hurt, and like he was really about to do it. But I think they thought I was having a heart attack. My blood pressure was through the roof, and my heart rate was dangerously high, that they thought that I was just going to die. So they did get a neurologist down there. The neurologist did hear myasthenia gravis. My understanding is that he was very uncomfortable with that condition. He didn't know enough about it, and he called Dr. Farr up at Madigan. Dr. Farr wanted me ambulanced immediately to Madigan. So, time, whatever. I have no concept of time. I don't know what time I got there, how long it took. I have no memory of any of it. I do know that I was ambulanced to Madigan, and I woke up on life support like 5 days later. I have a few glimpses of being woken up here and there. More so at the end. It was the most painful experience in my life. Non-stop panic attacks and sheer pain and terror. Then I was informed that not only did I have what they call a myasthenia crisis, triggered by me being sick and the weakness, I also had stress cardiomyopathy, so I was in heart failure. I still am right now. I have heart failure, but they hope it's reversible, so we're working on that. I was in full respiratory distress because of the myasthenia gravis crisis. My liver and my kidneys were also failing. I also developed pneumonia. And then a couple of days, like a week after being in the hospital, I developed a blood clot in my left lung that came up from my leg. And I'm still going through that. And then I developed pneumonia again. So they got rid of it, and then it came back. And I spent about almost 2 weeks in the hospital. It was like a day shy of 2 weeks or something like that. I couldn't rest in the hospital. I really had to fight to come off the life support. At one point, I was threatening to pull consent because they wanted me on it for 2 weeks. No, never again, no. I knew I could do it. Like, something told me I could do it. Like, I don't want to get into the, like, how or why I knew. I just knew I could do it. So, after almost a week of that, I got off, and then I couldn't rest in the hospital. I couldn't get better in the hospital. I couldn't eat in the hospital. I couldn't stop throwing up in the hospital. I knew that if I came home, I could rest my way that worked for me and eat food that worked for me and had my support system instead of them being so far away, and I'd have my animals, and they kept giving me pills on an empty stomach, which of course continued to make me puke, and sometimes it was coughing till I puked, and then when the cough was gone, it was just puking. So I haven't gotten sick since I got home. I've done better since I've gotten home. It's still really hard. I was told that it can take like 6 months to recover. I have a lot of PTSD. There's no cure for myasthenia gravis. And so I'm terrified of it happening again. I've been told the odds are high that once it happens, it'll happen again, of going into crisis. I look at everybody's germs as these mini bullets just waiting to kill me. The guys have had to renovate and do all these changes and all these other things to make the house ready for me, because I'm not in a position to live normally yet. I can't be alone for very long. I have an anxiety attack and flip out about it. Michael sleeps in that recliner right there. And I have his mattress. I stole his mattress because I was having problems with mine when I got home. It was causing me anxiety, and apparently one night I swore it was swallowing me. I don't know. I get frustrated sometimes. Like, I don't really talk a whole lot about the health stuff. Sometimes I'll post about being frustrated about certain things, but so many people in my life have taken this, it's either in your head or you need to get over it approach. As have many doctors, which has always been so frustrating to me and Jeremy, because a lot of people think that medicine is an exact science, and it's not. It's more opinion based. And you can go to a dozen different specialists, and each of those specialists will have their own opinion. And most of the time, they will force a diagnosis to fit within their field. So I have been diagnosed and undiagnosed with so many different things and had to go through so many different painful procedures that I have grown very bitter. Especially the number of needless surgeries I've had. Like, so while I'm thankful that, you know, they do have an answer, and it is certain, and this just confirmed it, there's no cure. I will always have this, and I was really hoping for something that they could fix this time. And now I also have heart failure, a blood clot in my lung, liver, kidney failure. I take an insane amount of medication every day and 2 shots. Poor Michael has to give me 2 shots every day. He does a really good job. It doesn't hurt that bad, but I bruise really bad because it's a blood thinner. And then I have to deal with this on my face. I take like 12 pills in the morning and like 8 pills at night and a couple during the day, and it's like that's all I do is swallow fucking pills. And I'm terrified all the time. And I'm not. I'm known to be strong and not scared of anything. And I'm terrified all the time right now. All the time. All of the time. I don't know. Everything seems different than it did on the 26th. I'm different. And I know I've upset some people since then by saying some things that they didn't think was so nice. You know, I don't care. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I don't care. If somebody's going through something, like they were just on life support and they almost just died, and they're going through a lot to try to survive every day, to stay alive, because their organs are trying to shut down, and you contact them and all you want to do is complain about something stupid in your life, or all you want to do is brag about something that great happened to you on Christmas, or just whatever, anything that's not supportive, fuck off and go tell somebody else. Because if you know somebody that's going through that shit, either shut the fuck up or be supportive of them. They don't have time to be supportive of you right now. And they don't have the time to care that it bothers you that they're not. Like, at all. I've already unfriended, like, 6 people. Why? Because they're selfish, and I don't care. They didn't care what I was going through, so I don't care what you're going through. Like, what? I don't get it. I have such an amazing support system. Like, I am the luckiest person alive in that regard. Everything else sucks. I am probably the most unhappy, most miserable person in the world right now. I'm not depressed. I'm just angry and bitter and anxious because I'm tired of bad shit happening to me. Those who really know me know that my life has been pretty fucking awful. Tragedy after tragedy, for the most part. And of course, this had to happen in December. But I always get back up and fight. And that strength, I think, comes from my support system. My husband, Jeremy, has always been unwavering. No matter how frustrating, no matter how much it demands of him, I'm thankful and I'm lucky to have somebody that loves me so much that he's willing to do and go through whatever it takes for me. And I know that this was hard on him. And the hardest thing for me was having to watch this person that I love. Luckily, I was out of it most of the time, but there are a few times I remember seeing the look on his face and the fear in his eyes. Because 3 weeks before, his dad just died, and now I could tell that he thought he was losing his wife. And I could not let that happen. I have Michael, who, you know, I don't care what anybody says. He may not be my biological brother, but he's my adopted brother. My mother adopted him. That was her son, and anybody else could just fuck off. He does so much for my family. I don't care if you like him. I don't care what your politics or your beliefs or whatever are. He takes care of me. He took care of my mom. He is 1 in a million. And like my Aunt Jody and my twin sister Melissa says, we all need a Michael. And how sad that they don't get to borrow him because he's up here now. But my daughter Emmy, you know, she will always be my daughter. I may not have given birth to her. She's the mother of my grandson. That girl came up to that hospital, found out I had not been bathed in almost 2 weeks. The first thing she did was got my ass in the shower. 7 months pregnant, got me in the shower at the hospital. Washed me. My hair, my body, my toes. She's lucky I didn't kill her. They needed washed. There's nothing she wouldn't do for me. I don't need anybody else. Like, really? I mean, I got Aiden. He'll do anything I ask. Grumbling because he's 18 and a senior. But, you know, Emmy's fiance, Justin, he'd do anything for us that we ask. I'm lucky. I'm blessed. I don't need all these other people on the internet. Like, I don't care. Like, unless you know me, like, my whole life and you're important to me and you're special to me, I don't care. I used to be so loving and care about people. I don't have time for that anymore, I guess. I have all the time in the world. I'm recovering. But, like, emotionally, psychologically, my brain's just like... The moment I start to think about somebody that's being selfish, like, my brain gets childish, and I'm like, fuck you! And I'll just find something to watch on TV. I know that sounds bad. I don't care. I don't want to hear about your wedding. Somebody that you've been with for over 20 years and you're just now getting married. I don't mean to be rude, but you clearly haven't been watching anything that went on my page for like 2 whole weeks. And then like literally right after I get out of the hospital, you message me to tell me you're getting married. I don't give a shit. And you tell me all about your plans. So, you've been with the bitch for 20 years. About time. Leave me alone. There was a lot more said than that, but I don't, it don't matter. Tons of situations like that happened. Like, tons. Tons. I just want to live. Like, and I tell you right now, this whole, the anxiety, I've been trying to get help for the anxiety attacks, and like, all they want to do is focus on depression. That's pissing me off too. I'm not depressed. And they're like, do you have any thoughts of self-harm? I've been asked that so many times. No, I don't want to die. That's what I'm afraid of. Like, that's my anxiety. That's why I'm having anxiety attacks. I'm having nightmares. Day and night terrors. People, I could be wide awake. And a terror, just a fucking nightmare. Terror. Whatever you want to call it. Enters my brain. And it is so vivid. And I'm not a vivid thinker. Like, I'm not a creative person. I can't envision things. You tell me. I don't know. But they want to focus on depression. They keep sending me stuff on depression. I was supposed to have a therapy session. All she did was email me shit on depression and improving my mood. I'm having PTSD. I'm not. So, obviously, she's not going to work out. And I'm going to have to figure something else out on my fucking own. But it is what it is. But this video is so much longer than I had already wanted it to be. I just wanted to briefly explain what happened because I haven't talked about it. I haven't felt like talking about it. It was suggested that I should talk about it and that maybe that would help. I do think I'm going to make an effort to advocate for and educate on myasthenia gravis, but I don't want to seem like one of those people that's like, oh, I had a near-death experience, so now I'm going to dwell on it all the time. That is difficult not to do. I used to not understand that quite so well, but I do now because I'm constantly in fear now. In fear, scared, terrorized, all of the above. So, if you want me to stay in your life, don't be a selfish dick, for one. Have some compassion. Try to see where I'm coming from if I'm just like done listening to you brag or complain. Like, I don't want to hear either. Like, if something cool happens and you post it on your Facebook page and I say, ooh, that's so cool, and I comment, that's fine. Don't seek me out, please. Don't seek people out going through fucked up shit to either rain on their parade or try to throw daisies at them. Because we don't want rain or daisies. We just want to be left alone. And we want to be allowed to come out when we're ready. And when we do post something serious, don't laugh at us. I said what I said. It's difficult, and we don't want to be ugly. Like, we don't. I don't want to be ugly. But I can't help how I feel, and I can't help how bitter I am. I can't help how frustrated I am. I can't help how scared I am. And sometimes people who are scared and frustrated and bitter, we lash out. So, that's where I'm at right now. That's what happened. That's where I'm at. That's what I'm going through. And right now, my future is consumed with this. Trying to fix my heart failure, trying to because they do hope it's reversible. That's what they've said. So we're trying to do that. We're trying to reverse the heart failure, which requires no stress. So much easier said than done. Trying to resolve the blood clot. Trying to resolve the liver and the kidneys. Trying to get my strength back. Trying to get my nerves back in. Like right now, my nerves are... I have so much nerve damage from the life support that, like, my feet are always tingling. I can't use my hands the same way. Like, I can't crochet or anything right now. I can't do anything. I can't walk for very long. I can't do anything. I'm not sleeping. I don't eat right. I don't anything right. So I have to focus on my recovery. That's my future for a while. I didn't realize what being on life support does to a person's body. But it does a lot. And on top of the myasthenia gravis and the rheumatoid disease and the bursitis and everything else that's always wrong with me, it's going to be a really long road. My doctors are doing everything they can to help. And Jeremy and Michael are doing everything they can to help. And I'm doing everything I can to fight. I will fight. I just can't promise to be nice or cheerful about it. So, interact with me if you want. Comment on things I post, as long as you're not nasty or negative or laughing at me. Unless I post something fun, it's actually funny. If I come to you, then great. There are ways to be supportive without going to somebody and being condescending. Whether you realize you're doing it or not, it still upsets us. And please do not use the words, I understand. Unless you've been in my shoes. Please don't say that to me. That bothers me more than anything. So that's how you can help if you care. Anyways, I'm gonna go because this is, again, this is not supposed to be this long. I talk too fucking much.